This is just for you and me to see what we're going to talk about, just the ideas, and save them here.
Okay. Antonio Villena, expert in carrying out immigration procedures in national resident visa.
Perfect, very good.
Okay. We work worldwide. And finally today, we start the long-awaited course. Today's topic is, what was it?
The minimum requirements for student visas, national student visas.
Today, we are going to talk about the minimum requirements, so listen very closely to the minimum requirements that are needed to process a student's visa. So, Antonio, welcome to this very enjoyable chat about the course that we have been looking forward to.
Very well then, thank you very much for the introduction. First of all, we're going to look at everything from a technical point of view and also from a real point of view, from which we have gained many years of experience, because often the regulations do not reflect the reality, or rather the reality often changes the regulations or modifies them. It is not what we are asked to do, it is how we have to do it, or because it is what we are asked to do and how we have to present things. The day-to-day reality is much more or as important as the regulations themselves. What are the minimum requirements to get a student stay or national student's visa? There are many types of studying, high school or university level, and what we will discuss, and we are only going to focus on higher studies, i.e. finishing university, then going on to study a master's degree or a doctorate, or going to study a speciality subject within our career, and then these types of studies which have to be for a minimum of 6 months. As we have said, a master's degree, a doctorate, etc., which is done after studying at university, which gives you the opportunity to obtain a residence permit in Spain.
Wow, that's very interesting what you're saying.
This is not only being applied in Spain, it is being applied in Holland and in many other European countries, because of a serious problem they have, and that is that the birth rate is low and the population is ageing. So in order for the active population to be able to pay for pensions and other expenses, they need more labour. And Europe is using different programs to attract specialised labour. That can help the country, that can help to finance this large group of people who are retiring. And this national active population, which does not have the capacity to generate enough resources for the country to be able to support this serious and large burden of pensions. This is the reality. This is not only happening in Spain, as I have said, but in many other European countries.
Great!
So in order to attract this young specialised workforce, what different programs are required? Spain a year ago, and even a few months ago, introduced a regulation whereby they could very easily, and with a very quick response from the Spanish administration, as soon as they finished their studies with a minimum of 6 months, this could be 2 years of a master's degree or a doctorate or whatever high-level studies. In 20 days they automatically obtained a year of residence in which they could work, look for work, do work experience, or they can start their own business activity at a very low cost, which is also very interesting, and then automatically during that year they can do it, and in 20 days they are granted residence in Spain.
So you mean to tell me that a person who comes to study a master's degree and who fulfills all the requirements after approval, I suppose, and all their academic performance, they can have the opportunity for an extra year to stay in Spain? Incredible!
The word is not that they can, the word is that they acquire the right to have it.
How wonderful! This is great news for our followers.
So let's go now to the second part. What are the benefits? What are the minimum requirements to be eligible for a student visa?
Sorry, one question, because we are talking about is something we will discuss in the future. Do you want to talk about it from the beginning?
I want in principle to raise the advantages of this type of stay visa.
Okay.
That's what we are talking about.
Okay.
Now let's look at the minimum requirements.
What is the title of the conversation?
Have a university degree or an intermediate professional qualification,
Higher.
or rather higher. And something very important, the qualification does not have to be recognised, not at all. It doesn't have to be recognised, it simply means having the qualification. And the second thing is that you are admitted to the university, a private training centre that is going to give you the qualification or the diploma. This is the most important thing. I repeat that it is not necessary that the degree is officially recognised. That is very important, only that you are admitted to the enrolment. But it is also very important to know how to choose the centre and the course you are going to attend, because not all the centres and not all the courses are suitable for a change of residence.
Especially because of the change of residence, right?
Of course. Let's not confuse things, because it's sad that someone comes to do a course that they're going to be granted a visa anyway to do a course, but then that course is not homologated or recognised for this change of residence. There are courses that are only recognised by the Ministry of Education or are endorsed by the Ministry of Education, and the regulations themselves state that once the course is finished, an official diploma has to be issued, recognised by the Ministry of Education.
Ministry of Education.
Sure. There are many training centres that accept the enrolment. The consulate accepts the visa because it is normal, but then it is not useful. It is very important to know how to look for this, which we are going to give in a lesson later in the course.
Perfect.
How to search for it. There is a state database where you enter and locate the master's or doctorate you want to do, where and whether or not it is recognised or not.
Great, because that way the people interested do it themselves from their own country. They can do the search with the certainty that this master's degree or higher degree course is official, and that it serves them afterwards to be able to make the change of residency.
Of course, not only that, they will see the duration of the course, they will see the type of speciality,
The credits.
or the type of course or the syllabus they are going to take, and with the certainty that they are approved, and also the languages in which they are given, how long it lasts, they have all the information there. It is also true that this database has its faults, like everything else, and there are university courses that are recent and that take a long time to be included in the database. It doesn't mean that at any given moment a university launches a new course and it is possible to take up to a year to be included in the database.
On the register.
But then we could also help our friends to detect whether or not they're recognised courses or diplomas.
Yes, because I understand that.
So the ones that are in the database are all of them. If they're in the database, they are approved. But if they're not in the database, it doesn't mean that they are not approved.
That is a very good clarification, because that's what our services are for. As we state well on the website, for those who wish to hire us, that this is a service we provide. We are going to help them with that process.
Yes, of course.
Throughout this process.
We are going to show the whole process in great detail. But anyone who wants to be more sure that everything will go well, they can hire us to manage the whole process from start to finish. We have also made it very special offer, very economical to cover our expenses, but with the aim of helping all of those who want to have an opportunity.
Exactly. You say the right word, Antonio. Opportunity. I love the title of the campaign. Secure your future, because we are investing in education, in a professional future.
Yes, I've always thought that as a father, the best thing we can offer our children is education, training. It's like the saying, give a man a fish and you feed him for a day. Teach him to fish and he can feed himself for the rest of his life. This is the same.
Exactly.
Young people have to be trained. They have to have sufficient training so that they are not among the majority of people in a disastrous employment situation, in social and family situations that they will carry with them throughout their lives, because they did not have a good education when they were young. We must bear in mind that the qualifications they obtain here are qualifications that can serve them throughout Europe, recognised throughout the world, not only in Europe, and this is very important. And then of course they can also have their qualifications recognised. That is also something that can be done. If you're a dentist or car mechanic specialising in electricity, well, it's also something that can be done later on. But the simple fact of having a master's degree entitles you to work in that speciality. You have to take that into account.
Great.
Regardless of your degree.
Great. Is there one more requirement we need to know about
Yes, of course.
that they have to meet?
We have talked about the most important one from my point of view. The second one is the economic means. They don't demand anything outrageous. They demand that you can at least demonstrate that you have the IPREM to be able to live in Spain. The IPREM is €538 or the equivalent. The IPREM is €538 or equivalent. The student can have it himself, which is not normal, or his father can sponsor him, which is the most logical thing to do.
Well,
More modest families, maybe the parents don't have enough economic resources to show that they can support him or her, so there is the possibility of an older brother, an uncle or a relative doing the sponsoring. This is very normal in a family. For example, an uncle wants to,
yes.
who has a slightly better economic position, wants to sponsor his nephew. This is admissible, just as if he were his father. In this case, it is a notarial deed saying that he will bear the cost of travel, a bank account that has to have the €538 in for 12 months. You have to be careful with this aspect because the consulates are always very particular that the documentation is presented correctly, that it is not a scam, that there is someone who wants to use the procedure, then doesn't just study and simply come.
Exactly why they look at. Sorry, Antonio, I received a message and I find it very interesting. Are you talking about the annual amount? How much will it be?
€538 per month for 12 months. I haven't really calculated. It's not much.
Just to give our listeners an idea.
To show that you have
How much money a year should they have?
€600,456, €6,500.
That is supposed to show that that person who is coming can support themselves for a year.
Effectively, to show you have the means to support yourself. You have it in your country of origin, or your uncle or your parents have it, and you say that the money is at your disposal. But as I said, the reality of the consulates is that they look very closely to ensure that there is no fraud, which is what they look for regarding this money. They will ask you not only for the certificate of ownership and balance, they will ask you for the last 6 months of bank transactions. Because what they can't see is that this account is at zero. And 2 days before presenting it to the consulate, you put the €6,500 into it.
Of course. Of course.
It has to be a real account that has movement.
Movements.
That in a few days, something increases. That's fine, but it can't be an empty account. And then you put the money in 2 days before. That's why they ask for 6 months. And be careful with this. The consulates are very vigilant that there is no scam and that everything is done correctly. It is important, I repeat, that the sponsorship and the amount that we are not talking about rich families, modest families, who are going to support a young person who has the ability to study and who has achieved good grades and has economic support. What's more, if they don't have the money and perhaps have a family member who can take them in, it is a valid and they don't have to prove any money at all. Also, if they can't prove the money and they only pay a residence or a student centre to support them and the centre issues a certificate stating that the centre is responsible for the board and lodging, that is also valid. This is very clear in the regulations.
Great. Let's highlight. What are you telling us? If in a given case, as we have seen, the amount is not very exorbitant for the monthly support, the two options we have are very interesting. If you have someone in Spain with a letter of invitation, I guess, where they will help and take care of that person and their expenses, or paying the student the resident support, it will be a solution, right?
Yes, and furthermore, the regulations are set out in a very specific way. I'm going to read it, because what we are talking about here is that if qualified personnel come, not that they have money, so that the regulations include this point. In a very curious way, let's see if I can see it here. Look, it says in one of the points, have sufficient financial means to cover the costs of their stay, and to return to their country, and where appropriate, that of their family members. We have to take into account that we have to talk about people who are married or have common law partners and have children. They can also come with them. They can come
Wow,
from the beginning or then after the fact or at any time.
great.
So here it talks about what we have said about the IPREM that says that for each person we have talked about, but if a relative comes, it could be the wife. The husband has to have that €6,500 plus 75% more for the wife.
Sure, because it is one more person.
That's the registered partner, and for each child, 50% more. We are talking about it not being an excessive amount for a family unit. Now, with regard to the amount, it says, with the following amounts for their monthly support, both, unless they duly prove that they have paid for accommodation in advance for the entire duration of the stay.
Ah, look, it's very clear.
Yes, it's not just about having paid for it. It could also be that a family member, as we have been talking about, if you have a family member or friend in Spain who says they are committed and also demonstrate that this person has the economic solvency that we have been talking about, a salary or savings in the bank, which doesn't mean having that amount in the bank. Let's make it clear. Maybe they don't have that amount. What they have is a salary or some savings. The economic issue here is not going to be looked at very much. It is required that you have completed your studies, and it is going to be required that your registration is paid for and that you are enrolled. Paid does not mean that the entire course has been paid in advance, but that a first payment has been made. Many of these masters are private and some are a bit more expensive, but most of them allow you to split the payments.
The payments.
Exactly. So if it lasts 6, 9 or 12 months, they split the payment and then they ask you to pay 10%, which makes it much easier for a person with modest economic resources to be admitted to the centre and be able to pay for it.
Uh-huh.
So that first payment, which is usually 10% of the amount paid, is enough for the registration and enrolment and first payment to be considered paid. As we have also said, another requirement is a criminal record. If you're over 18 years old, a medical certificate of not having any contagious diseases in accordance with the international regulations of 2005.
And the medical insurance?
The medical insurance, be careful too. One thing is the practice and the other is the regulations. The medical insurance cannot be a medical insurance that you take out in your country of origin. Those medical insurance only allow you a repatriation, an emergency illness, but it is not an insurance that allows you to go to the dentist for a simple consultation with your family doctor.
Sure.
Then any national company, and we will see it later, they are included on a state database. Any national company, Asisa, Adesla, Mufasa, DKV, etc. Without co-payment, that is to say that you go to the doctor and you don't have to pay anything. There are insurance that cost between 33 and 40 euros approximately per month.
Great. It is very important to listen to the information that Antonio has just given us on the subject of insurance. Don't take it out in the country of origin, because if you don't have sufficient cover in Spain, it won't work.
Correct. And then there are a few other requirements. Accommodation, they don't ask you to prove it if you have it either. A relative or you have a rented house is fine, but it's not necessary to prove it. Filling in the X00, we will see how to fill it in, fill in the national visa form, which is standard for any type of visa. You simply fill out the part of the student visa application, which we will also see how to fill out in a later chapter. And there are a few other requirements. If you are married and want to come with your wife and children, you can do it perfectly well. They will always be linked. The family residence will be linked to the student's residence. The student renews and the family renews.
To the student as a head of the family.
That's right. That is another very interesting point. It allows you to work while you are studying.
Seriously?
It allows you to work half a day at the most, or you can be self-employed.
Seriously? That's a blessing.
What you can never say is that you're going to use those financial means for your stay. No, you can't.
Oh, yes, of course.
But it automatically allows you to do so, not for the family, wife and children, but for the student. For example, if you're going to study for 6 months, not so much, but if you're going to study for 2 years and you have a family's responsibilities.
Of course.
And they allow you to be able to work. Okay. In addition, the majority of master's degrees or courses are normally accompanied by work placements. Here at the office, we have also had many internship students for many years with the right profiles, languages, etc. And many of them have stayed working with us. It's normal. You take on a young person. In fact, whoever is going to do a master's degree will almost certainly have an internship in a recognized company like ours.
It gives them a business link with a possibility then of a contract for that change of residency.
Of course, and for us, for example, as an office, it is something that we have been doing for many years, and it has worked very well. Because first of all, we interview, then we select the internship candidates who are interested. We sign the agreements with the training centre or the university. Then they are working with us. They adapt to the way of working. We see who is useful to us and who is not, who is comfortable with us and who is not. And then you have a person who, once you sign a contract with them, once they've finished their internship and finished their studies, they work 100%. You know how they work and they know how the office works. You're not bringing in someone from the street who you don't know. If they're not going to work, or if they're going to work, who has to have 2 to 3 months to get going and know how to adapt. You're bringing in a young person that you're not paying him anything. He is learning, but you are seeing if he is useful or not. It's a procedure that I've used for many years and it works very well. Whoever comes here is not going to sit at a desk in front of a blackboard. They are going to do an internship.
Exactly.
Almost all of them are internships. They have a significant amount of hours in company internships.
The connection with the reality of the business world is very important.
You know, we also have students right now. We're not going to say who they are, but students of Arab origin who are collaborating with us.
Great. From what I have heard, we're getting online messages from people very encouraged and very happy with all the news that you have just told us. And it is only the first lesson. We are going to see a lot of content in detail, as Antonio says, to explain in detail.
The only bad thing about these courses is that we're going to do it as we're doing it, outside of working hours, because we have a lot of work. This is something that on an economic level does not interest us. This is more of a social task of transmitting all these years of experience we have. Well, we are doing it at home. We are doing it with the children playing around our feet. Whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't like it, doesn't like it. But this recording stays made. We won't repeat it.
This recording will self-destruct in 5 minutes.
No. Let's see.
It took us 25 minutes.
Wait, I hope it's recording. Yes, it's recording. It's coming out.
How is it going to come out?
What if? Yes, take my advice. We've extended talking and we're not going to repeat. This first one comes out just as we're talking.
Antonio, you took me by surprise. I can't believe it.
Yes, yes, yes. Whoever likes it, likes it. Whoever doesn't like it, we're not going to repeat it. This one will come out. Besides, she's nice. We're talking. Well, for those who don't know, Sandra and I have known each other since 2004. True or not?
Yes.
Sandra has always collaborated with me on important projects, very important at a national level with ICO, with the regularisation of foreigners in 2004, which regularised 326 people in projects also with the social franchise, which was one of the first in Spain. Now I can't.
Excuse me a moment. I have a bit of darkness here.
I can't now. Tell me what.
Very well.
When I'm done, I'm going to go with you. Come on, then go to sleep. As well, there's a confidence that comes from talking in this way. Whoever likes it, whoever doesn't, I think that the content that we are offering, not just technical experience, but experience is worth it. It does matter if we're not at home in our shirts. What we are not going to repeat is that we don't have time all day, working 24 hours a day. This is good for us, and that's it. Sandra, don't think about it too much.
And really, Antonio, we have received, you know, that I collaborate with all the universities nationally and around the world. And we have received very good uptake. And they are very appreciative of this effort that you are making, that we are making as a company, as you say. I know that your day-to-day work is crazy. You have almost no time, and I don't know how you do it, to attend to everything and resolve all the cases with 100% success rate, which is very important, and that you are giving this content so in a free way. And as you well know, I am Colombian. I am very excited.
Well, I'm Spanish for many years.
Colombo, Spanish, exactly. But I was born in Colombia, and for our Latin American countries, the truth is wonderful. To hear all this that you tell us from an expert like you, to give all these tricks, as you said at the beginning, is to know how to present it, is to know how to shape it, to know how to choose each one of the steps to be successful in obtaining the visa.
Of course, it is not the regulation. The regulation, it develops some points, but you have to see why they are asked for. There are often court rulings that are also part of the regulation, and the regulation, but they are not published. There is the day-to-day work of the consuls, which often change the routine, the protocols, which are not published either. In other words, the regulations are created, but then there are many modifications. When I was a civil servant, we constantly received circulars from the central ministry telling us how we had to act. This is known by the civil servant who is inside. This is known by someone who has a certain relationship with the civil service, or who has day-to-day experience, but someone who simply looks at what is requested and tries to present it. May be lucky, but maybe they are choosing a more difficult path than what we are saying here, which is experience. There are at least one thing that is not in the regulations, and I'm going to tell you that right now. Student passport, which has more than 1 year left.
Details like this.
This doesn't come in the regulations. That with a minimum of 4 months validity, they don't admit a passport. But in the case of students, it must be a year and something, because they allow a month to answer you, plus 12 months that their passport is valid for, to return or to renew.
Exactly.
So the consulate is going to require you, and it's a shame that you present a passport that has no more than 4 months left, and they tell you that you cannot present it. Because if you are missing something, they require 10 days for you to present it, 10 working days, but if it is something like a criminal certificate, like an identification document, that is the passport that has 4 months left. They are not going to admit it.
Imagine details like that.
So, if you have a year left, they will recommend that you bring the 1 year old one, but not if you have less than 4 months left. all these little things and tricks that we are going to talk about, and there are 10 lessons, and this is the first one.
It is the first one, but there are important topics. Anyway, remember that in the description of the video, we are going to leave a summary of these requirements so that they are written down and all the participants of the course remember them. We are going to put in the text.
We're going to write all this down.
Not the requirements, the summary, so that you have it, what we talk about.
Okay.
The 5 steps you talk about.
You have to keep in mind, for anyone who doesn't know, we are talking about this in Spanish, but then we translate it into 3 more languages.
We know.
Arabic, because we have a lot of Arab friends and clients from many years. Into English, which is the universal language. Into French, which is spoken in 2 countries, where we also have more clients and friends, Algeria and Morocco. So this video we are making has a dubbing repercussion of transcribing the text. They have a lot of work. That's why I told Sandra that we started by talking a little bit, doing tests, and in the end we ended up making this video, because if we didn't do it this way, we wouldn't be able to do it.
It doesn't come out.
Something important, the course at the university starts at the end of the month. We don't have time to entertain ourselves much, and we should practically start recording to broadcast almost every day.
Yes, almost every day, yes, because the syllabus, as we put, is extensive.
If it is not impossible, and they are topics that we are extending in explaining experiences of many years of work, and we are talking about what we are entertaining ourselves, notice that we have been here for 35 minutes. I think the conversation has been enjoyable. We have talked about very interesting things, and it is the first lesson.
Great.
And I'm telling you, this takes a lot of work.
Great. Thank you very much indeed. We are receiving very positive messages. It is very practical. That is very important from the reality as you put it. That's it, close to you. Your experience, the basis of having obtained so many deserts and having helped so many people. So, well, thank you very much for this time. It has been very interesting, and I know that we are receiving comments online. Grateful and interested. There is much more coming.
Also tell the viewers that well behind this there is a large team of people very prepared who speak any language with different schedules. That then we leave it there, that they want to consult or request that we take them the file with a very special offer that we have made. This is not the end of the contact or the relationship. It can continue by email or WhatsApp. They are always available. We are also a group of friends for many years. Very selected, very technical here. We work almost 24 hours a day, 7 days a week, because we like it more than anything else.
As we were saying the other day, the formula 24/7, 365.
We are always hooked up on WhatsApp business.
Great, Antonio. So, dear followers, friends, clients, see you next time.
All right, best regards and good night.
We'll see you later.
I'm going to go and put this child to bed. Well, until now.